Hello and a warm welcome to the news on NTA International. My name is Justin Bemuyan. Here are the top stories. President Buhari sues for genuine support for the fight against drug abuse in Nigeria. Information and Culture Minister appeals for new technology to enhance quality of film produced in the country. Plus, Minister of State Petroleum says removal of oil subsidy or hike in pump price of petroleum products are not options on the table of government. Well, thank you very much for joining us. President Muhammadu Buhari has made a passionate appeal to well-meaning Nigerians to genuinely support the fight against drug abuse in view of its devastating consequences on the socio-economic well-being of the country. He said winning the war is one of the critical elements of the next-level mandate of his administration. The president made the appeal while receiving the report of the Presidential Advisory Committee on the Elimination of Drug Abuse. Our State House correspondent, Damu Sambu, has the details.
The report submitted by the chairman of the committee, retired Brigadier General Buba Marwa, confirmed the fears earlier expressed by the president that Nigeria has a very serious drug problem that must be tackled as a national emergency. The 2018 National Drug Use Survey shows that the country has an alarming drug prevalence rate of 14.4%, almost 3 times the global rate put at 5.5% by the 2019 World Drug Report. The survey indicates that the southwest zone of the country has the highest drug use prevalence rate of 22.4%, with Lagos State in particular having an estimated 2.1 million drug users.
An important and instructive finding by the committee was the lack of cohesion and coordinated response among the different MDAs tasked with responsibilities for addressing Nigeria's drug issue. Nigeria has a brilliant national drug policy, the National Drug Control Master Plan. Yet, there was no real ownership of the country's drug policy. Nobody to hold accountable for the failure of the implementation of the country's drug response.
The committee therefore recommends, amongst others, an urgent declaration of a national state of emergency on the drug use menace, as well as the establishment of a National Drug Control Commission to oversee the nation's coordinated response towards tackling the drug issue.
The committee recommends the formal launch of war against drug abuse. We also recommend a deliberate, concerted, and consistent funding of Nigeria's drug response. For the purpose of this emergency, we suggest that a certain percentage of Nigeria's annual budget is dedicated to Nigeria's drug response. It is that bad.
President Muhammadu Buhari expressed appreciation to the committee for the industry and tenacity put in to carry out the national assignment.
I commend you for a work well done, and I have no doubt your report will provide the platform for a final onslaught of the menace of drug abuse. I specifically commend the First Lady and wife of the Vice President for their initiatives, commitment, and contributions towards tackling the challenges of drug abuse in Nigeria.
The president was emphatic that unless Nigeria is cleared of the worrisome substance abuse, it will be difficult to bring down crime rate to acceptable levels. Correcting the root cause of most of the ills of the society today, President Buhari insists, is a task that must be done.
I am therefore assuring Nigerians and our foreign partners that this is a matter of foremost importance. We will study the report and the recommendations for implementation appropriately. As a government, we have the responsibility to ensure the security and well-being of our people. I call on all well-meaning Nigerians to join hands with relevant government agencies in the fight against drug abuse.
The Nigerian leader also appreciated the support of international organizations as well as all those whose concerted efforts contributed to the successful intervention of the federal government towards containing the drug menace in Nigeria. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
The consequential adjustment of salaries of workers arising from the new Minimum Wage Act of 2019, which has lingered for a while, has finally been resolved. Austin Anyebe reports that the organized labor and the federal government concluded negotiations on Friday morning after several hours of deliberations.
After 3 consecutive days of negotiation between the federal government and organized labor on the consequential adjustment of salaries arising from the new Minimum Wage Act of 2019, both parties have arrived at a compromise.
Having reviewed the increase in the lowest paid person in this wage structure at 30,000 naira for the grade level 1, step 1, that the grade level 07 officers should move up by 23.2% in their wage structure, in their wages. Grade level 08, 20%. To 17, 14% increase.
The minister also explained that the adjustment was made for federal government workers on other salary structures.
The people in this compartment are people on the consolidated health system scale, CONHES, consolidated research institute scheme, CONRISE, and the one for the teachers, CONTES 2, and those for CONWAS 2, CONMES, CONTEDIS, and COMCAS. For officers on this wage structure, grade level 7 or its equivalent had an increase of 23.2%. Grade level 8 to 14 and its equivalent had 16% increase. And grade level 15 to 17 or its equivalent had a 10.5% increase.
He said similar adjustments were made for personnel of the military and paramilitary, which shall be communicated to them since they were not represented in the negotiating committee. Head of Service and the President of the Nigeria Labour Congress say the percentages arrived at by the negotiating committee is a win-win for both parties.
Because both sides sat down together and worked out this agreement together. It was a collective decision.
Clearly speaking, I think it was a collective process, and therefore what remains is actually to implement and workers to also benefit from it.
With the payment template being worked out, implementation of the adjustment is expected to start soon. In Abuja, Austin Anyebe.
Removal of oil subsidy or hike in the pump price of petroleum products are not options on the table of government. Minister of State Petroleum Resources Temipre Silva made this clear during the ministry's budget defense at the joint session of both Senate and House of Representatives Committees on Petroleum Resources, upstream and downstream. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
Petroleum resources, the minister said, remain strategic to Nigeria's economy and the livelihood of citizens, which was why government will not relent in coming up with measures to plug leakages.
This government is not about to remove subsidy because it is difficult. We believe as a government that our people are already going through a lot of suffering. We don't believe that Nigerians are consuming over 60 million liters a day. There's a lot of smuggling.
The need to amend some laws governing the industry, such as the Deep Offshore Act, was a unanimous agreement of parties at the budget's defense.
We have demonstrated our readiness and our commitment towards supporting Mr. President achieve his greater vision for Nigeria. And then that commitment was demonstrated at the Senate when we passed the Deep Offshore Inland Business Act.
At another budget defense session by Ministry of Interior before the House Committee on Reformatory Institutions.
So when you look at what is actually there in totality to service the inmates, you know that already we are working on a tightrope.
It is important to note also that issues bedeviling our prisons are beyond the mere change of name, but of commitment and determination that will cause a positive change in the administration of our justice system.
Controller General of Nigeria Correctional Service, Jafar Ahmed, said the service is proposing a budget of 81 billion naira for 2020. Meanwhile, the House Committee on Solid Minerals was informed by the Minister of Solid Minerals and Steel Development
to diversify the economy with mining. So the World Bank, of course, is supporting this program.
The ministry will appear before the committee next week for budget defense.
Bill already transmitted to him by the 8th National Assembly. The chairman of the committee, Matthew Urogide, during the budget defense by the Office of the Auditor General, notes that the bill is aimed at addressing corrupt practices, which the president is passionate about. National Assembly correspondent Vivian Idikbefo reports on this and more.
It was part of the support of the National Assembly to fight corruption that the Federal Audit Bill was enacted to strengthen the operations of the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation to facilitate transparency in public spending. The right personnel are also identified as key requirements.
No doubt that if we are able to put our audit research in place properly and we are able to check the government, the accounts of the Federation properly. Of course, whatever is allocated to all the NDAs, we are able to audit them, we are able to put a proper perspective on the check. Of course, the issue of corruption will be reduced tremendously in our country.
The Auditor General of the Federation, Anthony Ayine, briefed the senators on the performance of the 2019 budget and asked for more support for effective performance. In a related development, the House Committee on Public Service has pledged to support the Federal Civil Service Commission get adequate funding for its activities. Chairman of the committee, Sani Bala, after listening to the chairman of the commission, Bello Ingawa, during the budget defense, noted the need for increased funding.
Our hands are tied at the back because we don't have budget. And if you don't have it, there's not much you can do in the system. I will not go out, and the nature of the job we are doing is not one that you start going shopping for favors. So we must make sure that we remain within the confines of what is available to us.
In a general sense, we don't have any complaint from any quarter. So I will want to appreciate you and your management team for managing the place very well.
The committee acknowledged the cordial relationship between the two bodies. From the National Assembly, Vivian Idekbefo, NTA.
In a related development, Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mohammed Bello, says the 2020 budgetary proposal of the ministry was prepared in line with the plans of government to ensure that the growing population in the capital city is adequately provided with the needed infrastructure for enhanced living conditions. While defending the proposal before the House of Representatives Committee on FCT, the minister said the estimate was based on the envelope approved by the Budgeting Authority. A National Assembly correspondent, Lamia Ali, again reports.
The amount earmarked for spending for 2020, put at more than 28 billion naira, aims at providing funds to complete 12 ongoing projects covering roads construction, water, mass rail transport to ease movement of people, and development of satellite towns. The minister advocated for a return of the FCT to its previous special funding status, pointing out that this will fast-track expansion plans.
Funding can be adequately provided to cater for phases 2, 3, 4, and phase 5 of the city, so that we will be able to really take care of the needs of the city even for the next 20 years.
The House Committee pledged its support to the ministry to meet set targets.
The FCT needs adequate funding of critical national projects.
The budget defense was for the FCT's federal priority projects. Meanwhile, the House Committee on ICT has held its inaugural meeting, during which members stressed the importance of taking advantage of technology to fasten communication and documentation of legislative affairs. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
This is the news on NTA International reaching you from Abuja. Time to go on a break to take some messages. We shall be back with more news in a moment.
Hey, you! And are you how they talk to? I sabi you now. It's in day your mind, Abi. The person with them go help us. Baba Toros and Shangalo. Oga Legova, Mr. Sabi. And you know if we carry last for this one.
A spear into the top corner.
We Sabi say Peking go crawl before in waka. So don't look, no help anybody. No dolly, no. So go for it. Go for football. Go for all Serie A and La Liga matches live. Go for GoTV Max.
And thank you for staying with us. Olayinka Joe is standing by with trending news in the financial sector.
The Debt Management Office says the federal government will auction 150 billion naira worth of bond by subscription on October 23. A circular by DMO broke down the figure to include a 50 billion naira 5-year reopening bond that will mature in April 2023 and be offered at 12.75%, 50 billion naira 10-year reopening bond that would mature in April 2029 and be auctioned at 14.5%, while the last one is the 50 billion naira 30-year reopening bond expected to mature in April 2049 and be auctioned at 14.8%. The Central Bank of Nigeria says deposit money banks in the country lost 14.3 billion naira to fraud and forgeries last year. The FX Bank stated this in its Financial Stability Report. While the losses to fraud and forgeries recorded by banks stood at 12.1 billion naira in the first half of 2018, the industry lost 2.2 billion naira to fraudsters in the second half of last year. Dollar up on hopes of US-China trade deal as sterling holds gains. Olayinka Ojo, NTA News.
A budgetary provision of 536.7 billion naira in the 2020 National Appropriation Bill now before the National Assembly to cater for the payment of gratuities and monthly pensions of retired federal public servants is a humanitarian gesture of immense proportions. The Buhari Media Organization described the proposal as a right step in the right direction, aimed at lifting more Nigerians out of poverty. It also noted the provision of 16.567 billion naira and 48.8 billion naira to take care of ex-workers of the defunct Nigeria Airways who were denied their gratuities, and for the pension office of the head of the civil service of the Federation. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed has enjoined the Indian government to support Nigeria with technology that will enhance the quality of film produced in the country. The minister made the appeal when he granted audience to the Indian High Commissioner to Nigeria on the Kutsa Call. Anthony Forson reports.
Hollywood as a huge film industry in the world being followed closely by Nigeria's Nollywood. It is high time modern technology in the film industry is injected into the sector, as Nigeria, he maintained, has a very rich content.
In terms of the quality of the films, we still need to do much more, and I don't think there's a better place we can look forward to than India for this, given the relationship between India and Nigeria.
The minister said, despite India's huge population, it shares similarities with Nigeria in the areas of plurality of cultures and religion, which will be significantly beneficial for Nigerian cultural officers to understudy.
Nothing binds nation better than cultural exchanges, because you begin to understand you begin to learn from cultural exchanges how actually similar you are, not actually too different. And then even when you are different, you begin to understand your differences, and that makes you able to work together.
In his remark, the Indian High Commissioner to Nigeria said, in deepening the ties between the two countries, the Indian Foreign Affairs Ministry is organizing a journalist exposure visit for selected Nigerian journalists to expose them to specific business events in India with a focus on Africa. The High Commissioner extended an invitation to the Nigerian Cultural Troupe to participate in the Indian African Cultural Festival. He described Nigeria as India's biggest trading partner. He equally maintained that India appreciates the cordial relationship that exists between both countries. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has congratulated Sir Kensington Adebukola Adebutu on conferment of the title Odole Odowa on him by His Imperial Majesty Oni Adeyeye Eniton Ogusi Arole Odua or Jaja II. In a statement, the president also commended Sir Adebutu for setting up a foundation that caters for the weak and vulnerable, and for his adventurous spirit of delving into unattractive ventures and turning them into areas of employment and profitable careers. The president, while reflecting on the title which was last held by Chief Obafemi Awolowo, President Buhari urged Sir Adebutu to keep up the good work that heralded such a worthy recognition. The president also felicitates with wives of the businessman, Dame Caroline Oladoni Adebutu and Yeye Kofoworola Adebutu, who are also conferred with titles Yeye Mode Odua and Yeye Rewa Odua. On behalf of the Federal Executive Council and all Nigerians, President Muhammadu Buhari has felicitated with former head of state General Yakubu Gowon on his 85th birthday, describing him as a living legend and symbol of national unity. As Nigeria's youngest leader since independence, President Buhari affirmed that General Gowon's visionary leadership style, wisdom and disciplined outlook kept the country as one, extolling the former head of state for faith and steadfastness in God in times of adversity and courageously pursuing the interest of majority of Nigerians for a unified and stronger country. In a statement issued by Special Advisor to the President, Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, the President believes the elder statesman laid a solid foundation for the country to thrive with the creation of federating units and implementation of futuristic policies like the National Youth Service Corps that has consistently served the purpose of fostering unity, harmony and expanding the horizons of young Nigerians for lifetime opportunities. Similarly, Plateau State Governor and Chairman of Northern Governors Forum, Simon Bakola-Long, has described the former head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, as a rare gift to the state and the world because of his exemplary lifestyle and enormous sacrifices towards nation building and global peace. Governor Lalong, in a statement by his Director of Press and Public Affairs, Makut Simon Macham, said General Gowon, as a distinguished statesman, gentleman, prayer warrior and bridge builder, has continued to provide inspiration and hope for the nation as it wades through its challenges. While wishing the celebrant good health, God's grace and divine strength, Lalong urges General Gowon not to relent in deploying his wealth of experience and knowledge in the pursuit of unity and national integration. More legislations are to be proposed by the House Committee on National Security and Intelligence to complement the commitment of President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration in the fight against insurgency and other security challenges bedeviling the country's socio-economy. It is the agenda set by the committee chairman Shaban Ibrahim Sharada at the committee's inaugural meeting. National Assembly correspondent Abdullahi Aminu now reports.
Committee members deliberated on various legislative processes towards bringing to an end security threats Nigeria is facing.
It is obvious to state that without security, nothing will go well in even